There is a very specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to be picked, not loved, not seen, not understood, picked. We call it people pleasing. We call it seeking approval. We call it being the easy one, but underneath all of those names is the quiet habit, needing to be chosen. And if you have felt that exhaustion, this video is going to name something about it you have probably never said out loud. So stay with me. Hi, I'm Ayana, and welcome to Operation Get Hot. This is where we talk about the parts of reinvention nobody makes cute enough. Outgrowing the life that used to fit, wanting more without apologizing for it, and learning how to stop abandoning yourself in small, socially acceptable ways. If you have ever looked around at your life and thought, technically, this is fine, so why doesn't it feel like mine? This channel is for you. Now, you don't know me yet, so let me tell you why I have any business talking about this. I have spent most of my life watching women, the women I grew up around, the women I worked beside, the women I've been, capable, admired, holding everything together, and quietly disappearing. And for a long time, I was one of them. I got very good at being whoever the room needed. I could read what people wanted and hand it to them before they even asked. It earned me a lot of approval. It cost me myself. So I started paying attention, and I noticed a pattern. So often, it was not that these women wanted too much. It was that they had spent years abandoning themselves in small, reasonable ways until there was almost nothing left of them to defend. That stayed with me. That is why I started Operation Get Hot. I help women get back to feeling like themselves again from the inside out because the beauty, the confidence, the magnetism, all of that is the side effect. The real work is learning to stop disappearing. So let's get into it. Chosen by the room, by the person, by the job, by the friend group, by the algorithm, chosen by the life you thought would financially prove you were enough. For a long time, needing to be chosen can look like ambition. It can look like being agreeable, polished, easy to work with, easy to love, easy to invite, easy to keep around. It can look like becoming very, very good at reading what other people want from you and then handing it to them before they even have to ask. And because that skill gets rewarded, you may not notice what it cost. You may not notice the small edits, the opinion you softened, the need you swallowed, the outfit you changed, the price you lowered, the boundary you explained 3 different ways so nobody would think you were difficult. You may not notice that your life slowly became less about what you want and more about what makes you selectable. That is the part nobody talks about. The desire to be chosen does not always make you desperate. Sometimes it makes you strategic, sometimes impressive. Sometimes it makes you the woman who always knows how to behave in the room. But there is a difference between being considered and being chosen. And there is a difference between being valued and being useful. A lot of women learn that distinction way too late. Because when you are rewarded for being low maintenance, accommodating, flexible, understanding, gracious, pleasant, available, and easy to have around, it is very easy to mistake approval for alignment. It is very easy to think, this must be working. They like me. But the quieter question is this. Do they know you? Do they know what you actually want? What bothers you? Where you disagree? Do they know what you would choose if nobody was grading that choice? Or do they only know the version of you that learned how to stay the one who was picked? Because that version of you can get very far. She can build a career, keep a marriage functioning, remember everyone's birthday, and make the whole thing look beautiful from the outside. But eventually, she starts to disappear inside her own competence. And one day, she looks around at a life full of things she was chosen for and wonders why none of it feels like hers. That is usually the moment people call a crisis. I think sometimes it's actually clarity. The first thing that changes when you stop needing to be chosen is that you begin to notice where you are auditioning. And that can be uncomfortable. You start to hear it in your own language. Whatever works for you. I don't care. I'm easy. No worries. It's fine. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes I'm easy means I have trained myself not to complicate anyone's life with the truth of me. Sometimes whatever works for you means I do not trust that what works for me will still be welcome. Sometimes I don't care means I do care, but wanting things has historically made me less convenient. And once you hear that, you cannot unhear it. You start noticing how often you made yourself smaller. Not because anyone demanded it out loud, but because you learned the terms. You learned what got praised, which version of you got invited back when your need made the room tense, and when your preferences were treated like a problem to solve instead of information to respect. So you adapted. And adaptation is not a character flaw. It is intelligence. It is survival. It is pattern recognition. But at some point, the same thing that helps you belong starts preventing you from being honest. That is where the shift begins. Not with some dramatic declaration, not with burning everything down, and not with suddenly becoming the loudest woman in the room. It starts much smaller. You pause before saying yes. You let silence exist without rushing to make everyone comfortable. You say, let me think about it. And you actually think about it. You choose the thing you like before calculating who will approve of it. You stop explaining every boundary like you are submitting evidence in court. And you let people misunderstand without immediately trying to win yourself back. The last one is big, because when you need to be chosen, misunderstanding feels dangerous. It feels like you have to correct the record immediately. You have to prove your heart, prove your intent, prove that you are kind, that you are not like whatever version of you someone decided to invent. But when you stop needing to be chosen, you start asking a better question. Why am I trying so hard to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding me? That question changes everything. It does not make you cold. It doesn't. It makes you clearer and cleaner with your energy, your explanations, your access, because there is a certain dignity in not trying to convince people to value what they already know they have been receiving from you. You have already been providing that value. And this is the part where people get nervous, because they think not needing to be chosen means not caring. And it does not. It means you stop confusing caring with self-abandonment. You can care and still choose yourself. You can love someone and still notice that that relationship only works when you don't have needs. You can want the opportunity and still refuse to shrink yourself to fit it. You can be gracious without being endlessly available, and warm without being easy to consume. That is the difference. When you stop needing to be chosen, you do not become indifferent. You become less for sale. And for some people, you will experience that as a loss. Not because you became cruel, but because you became less convenient. You stopped offering the discounted version of yourself. You stopped making your preferences negotiable. You just to keep the peace. You stopped pretending that being picked was the same as being met. Met on your terms. That changes the terms of every room you walk into, because now, instead of asking, do they like me? You start asking, do I like who I have to become to be liked here? That question will save you years. It will save you from jobs that reward your overfunctioning and call it leadership, from relationships that praise your patience because they benefit from your silence, from friendships where your role is to be endlessly understanding but never honestly understood, from building a public life around a version of yourself you cannot stand being in private. Because being chosen is not always the prize. Sometimes being chosen is the trap. Sometimes the door opens because you made yourself small enough to fit through it. And the real question is not, why didn't they choose me? The real question is, what version of me was I offering up for selection? Was it the whole me? Or was it the edited me? The agreeable me? the grateful to be here me, the I don't need anything me, the let me make this easy for you me, because that version may get picked. But she may also inherit a life that requires her to keep disappearing in order to keep it. And that is too expensive. At some point, you have to stop asking whether you are chosen and start asking whether you are choosing. Choosing the room, the relationships, the work, the pace, the version of yourself you are willing to live with. Because self-trust is not built by being picked. It is built by choosing in your own direction enough times that your nervous system finally believes you are on your own side. You are on your own side. That is what changes. You stop outsourcing your worth to whoever has the power to approve you that day. You stop treating every closed door like a referendum on your value. And you stop making rejection mean you were wrong to want what you wanted. You stop negotiating against yourself before anyone else gets to the table. And slowly, your life starts to feel less like a performance review and more like a place you actually live. You stop moving through it like a guest. You start taking up your own space again. Not everyone will come with you, and that is true. Some people only knew how to relate to the version of you who was trying to be kept. Some liked you best when you were easy to override. Some will call your clarity distance because they were used to your overextension. Let them. Not in a bitter way, in a truthful way, because the goal was never to be chosen by everyone. The goal was to stop abandoning yourself for the chance. There is a particular freedom in realizing you do not have to audition for people who have already shown you the role they want you to play. You can decline that role. You can leave the room. You can want more. You can disappoint people without becoming a bad person. Be kind without being available for extraction. And be seen by fewer people while being known more deeply by the right ones. And maybe that is the real change. You stop trying to become universally desirable and you start becoming specifically yourself. That is less marketable in some rooms, but it is more livable. And at this point in my life, I am much more interested in livable because being chosen sounds beautiful until you realize you were never choosing back. So maybe the question is not, how do I become the kind of woman people choose? Maybe the question is, what would I choose if I finally stopped auditioning? That answer may change everything. So I want to leave you with that question. Sit with it this week. What would you choose if you finally stopped auditioning? If this put words to something you've been carrying, this is the exact kind of thing I write about every week on Substack. It is where I go deeper than I can here. The honest version for women who are done shrinking to stay chosen. The link is in the description. Come find me there. And if a specific woman came to mind while you were watching this, send it to her. She probably needs to hear it too. Because Operation Get Hot was never about being chosen. It is coming home to yourself. And when you do, being chosen stops being the point. The hot is just a side effect. I'll see you in the next one.